Hi guys, thank you for joining me today on Making with Marilyn. Today I'm going to be making two pouches with names on them. These are pouches that I ordered off of Amazon and I received 12 pouches for $10.99. I thought that was a great deal. When I received them, I did a little practice on this dark navy blue pouch and I put these eyelashes on it. It worked beautifully. So I've decided to make two of these pouches for a couple little girls I know. On the first one, I'm going to use this lime green pouch and put this beautiful purple glitter HTV on it with her name. And then on the second one, I'm going to, on this very pretty light purple, cut her name out of this mint green HTV and put that on it. The other colors that I received in my set were a black, a gray, a lemon yellow, this aqua blue, this royal blue, light pink, this gorgeous bright pink, tangerine orange, and red. And it's really more of an orangey red. It's not a true Christmas red. But we'll set those aside for now. For today's project, if you want to join along with me, in addition to needing something to put your HTV vinyl on and your HTV vinyl, you're going to need a cutting mat, a cutter. I use my Cricut Maker. You're going to need something to cut with. I use my rotary blade. You'll need a weeding tool. I like to use this scraper so I can really adhere my vinyl down to my mat, and the mat is a strong grip mat. That's what's recommended by Cricut. I have a ruler handy in case I need that. In addition to my Cricut Easy Press 2, I have the Teflon sheet that I'll use to go over the top of these. I have my mat, and then inside my pouches I'm going to put a paper towel so that when I heat press them, the insides of the pouch don't stick together. Then lastly, it's not necessary, but I have this. It's just a piece of wood that I can use to set my pouch on, and the zipper will hang over the edge, and that way it's not in the way of the Easy Press. It's hanging over the edge, and it's making it where the Easy Press can get nice and tight down on the material. So now I'm going to move over to my computer and show you how I designed this in Cricut Design Space. Okay guys, I'm in Design Space, and so I need to do two names. I've already decided on this font called Bakery, but what I do want to show you is if you want to go with free fonts, if you're not a member, I think it's called Access Member, Cricut Access, something like that, which I'm not. That costs money each month. You can click on System. That shows you all of the fonts that are on your system so that you're not having to pay for one. And so my font that I want is Bakery. So the first name that I'm going to put is Remington. I'm going to add that. And the second name I want is Piper. And I want to work with these independently, or I could have just left them in the same text box. But I prefer to work with them independently. Now, let me move this down so you can see everything. Okay, the first thing I want to do is get the height to about where I want it. And I want it to be somewhere no more than 2.5 inches, and it doesn't even have to be 2.5 inches. That's a little less than 2.5 inches. Right here you can see it says it's 2.324. You can also see that up here. If I wanted to be exactly 2.5 inches, what I could do is I could put 2.5, and there, it does it for me. There are multiple ways to get your letters. I want to go ahead and lock that. There's more than one way that you can get your letters to come together so they're touching. I tend to start with this just to get them where they're kind of close and starting to touch. Some people totally don't do it this way, but there I see they are pretty good. Now, the other thing you can do is you can hit ungroup. And when you ungroup it, each letter is its own thing. They're no longer together. So I can tell, let me get off that, I can tell right here that this little tail of the N isn't quite far enough over. So I'm going to click on my G and just slightly move him over. I like where those are, and really I like how these three are. So I can highlight these three and I can group them back so that I can move all three at one time instead of moving them independent or individually. Okay, now my R, I think I want to make it just a little bit bigger than the rest. I kind of like how that looks when the first letter is bigger. Move it a little closer, and I'm not going to have it touch. Now in Design Space, if you're new to Design Space, let me go ahead and put all these together. Attach makes it where now they are one unit. I can move the whole thing at one time. They're not individual letters anymore. I want to show you something though. First, to make it easy to see, let me change the color. Okay, if I were to go ahead and send this to my Cricut Maker, I'll click Make It. And I will go to the Piper one, or the Remington one, I'm sorry. You can see right here a black line between all those letters. That means that it would cut everywhere there's a black line, and they really would not be one piece. So I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to highlight all of this. And I only turned it pink so that you could see that better. It still would have done it if I would have left it black. But what I want to do is I want to weld them together. Now, if I click Make It, and I go to the Remington one, you can see now that there's no longer a black line separating each of those letters. So that is what I want. Okay, now I wanted no more than 7.5 wide, and we can see there, well, I could have, if I'd have been thinking, I could look there, it's less than 7.5 wide. So I'm good with that. Now I'm going to turn it back black because there's no reason to need to cut twice. I can just lay my material where it needs to be so that I only have to send this through my Maker once. Okay, now I need to work on Piper, and again, let's just use this. 2.5 inches tall, and then I'm going to just start by moving it this way. Get them a little closer together. Less work on my end. So, whoops, I don't like how close the P is, and I have that issue there. So I'm going to hit ungroup, and then these two are okay. So let's go ahead and group those back, and then let's move them over there. That looks a lot better. I want to move this one over, and I might have to adjust it a little bit more after I make it. Yeah, I'm going to have to adjust it more after I make it much bigger. Now I'm going to unlock it so I can change the, yeah, I don't know, that looks fine. Okay, lock it back, put it where I want it. I think that looks good. So right now you can see this is separate, those two are together, that's separate, that's together, or I mean that's by itself, it's individual. So I'm going to do that. And then I don't have to attach them first. I just did that up here to show you what that meant. If I weld them, that changes them to just being one item together. You can't undo it. So you have to be happy with it before you do that. Now, I can see that I don't really love this. So you know what? I'm getting rid of that. I am going to choose a different font. And I'm going back to System. And I'm going to check this Amelia. Okay, let's move that up. Make it about 2.5 inches tall. And then I want to push my letters together. Again, you can do it like some other people do and just ungroup them and push them individually. I just start with this because, like I said earlier, it's less work for me to do. So let me ungroup those. Let me move this one over a little bit. I want to move the whole thing over a little bit just to play with it. All right, let's take that P, and because Piper's a pretty short name, I'll make it as big as I can. I think 2.72 is probably okay. And I'll go with that. So now, remember, let's change that to pink. If I were to send this, there's Piper. Woo, that looks terrible because I didn't at least attach it. If you don't attach it, it puts the letters where it wants to on your mat to try to use as least material as possible. So that looks terrible. Oops. Okay. So let me show you. If we attach it, it's at least going to, when you try to make it, be in the right order and not look quite so weird. You can see that. But again, it's going to cut in between those letters. We don't want that. And so, oops, no. All right. So we are going to weld it. And then I'm just going to turn it back to black. Okay, so we are ready to cut. And I'm going to put these where I want them. And then I'm going to, oops, get over there. I'm going to attach them, which means they're going to stay in the same place when I send it to the maker. And let me show you. See how they're in the same place. Okay. Now, I'm going to detach it because since I'm using two different colors, I want to move this down just a little bit. And now I will go back and attach them so that I know where they're going to be on the cutting mat. I'll get my vinyl set and then I will show you the maker cutting them. Okay guys, so let's move on. You can't see me, but you don't really need to see me. What I want to do before I get started is I want to really push this down very firmly to make sure it adheres. This is a strong grip mat, and I even wrote that on the back, so it should be fine. But I want to make sure. And also notice on the HTV, typically you're putting the shiny side down because the shiny side is actually the carrier sheet. That's why you don't need transfer paper on this. The shiny side stays solid, and then the pieces that you don't need of the upper part get cut and you weed them out. I'll show you what I mean as we go along. So we have this ready. Let me go ahead and open my Cricut, turn it on. I am connected to it, and notice my question to myself, mirror, because I typically forget that. So I'm going to look over here at my computer, and I have not mirrored this. So now it is mirrored. So I'm going to click continue. And when I do that, my maker is going to ask me what kind of material I'm using. And I want to let them know that I'm using a glitter HTV. I know you can't see this, but let me search for that. Okay, so I found under their iron-on section glitter iron-on. I was looking for glitter HTV or glitter heat transfer vinyl, and I couldn't find it. So I actually looked in each section, and in the iron-on I found a glitter iron-on. So I chose that. And now it is telling me to load my cutting mat. It also says to make sure it's my fine point blade, which it is. And it's ready for me to send it. So I push my little Cricut button. I'm always very cautious when I'm doing HTV, especially glitter HTV. I want to make sure that I just do everything right. It doesn't come second nature to me yet. Hopefully someday it will. Okay, and it's ready for me to unload. Let me do that, and I'll put this away, and we'll be right back. It's the moment of truth, and it's time to see if it cut the way I hope it cut. So let's go ahead and remove these from the mat. I like to turn my mat over and remove my mat from whatever I'm cutting. It keeps the vinyl from buckling. So we'll get both of these off. Put my protector sheet back on and set this aside. Okay, so this one is Remington, and I just want to start pulling up the corner. And once I get the corner started, the rest should be relatively easy. I find that heat transfer vinyl is really pretty easy to weed. Much easier than most materials. If it cuts well, really, you can just start pulling on it and it works out fine. Okay, so I'm looking at it and I see I have some letters to get the centers out of. The R in Remington needs the center out of it, and the E. And the O, I think I have two little pieces to remove. that's it. So you can see that Remington, hopefully you can see that Remington cut out just beautifully. We'll set that aside. And now we'll work on Piper. Again, you just start with a corner, stick your weeding tool through, and start lifting. Again, I need to take the centers out. And one more, I believe. It's not unusual for people to accidentally leave some of those centers in, including myself. So I like to look at it from the front and just make sure everything's gone. And hopefully you can see the name Piper on that. If not, you will be able to see it in a little bit. So the next step is to get our Easy Press ready. So let me get that preheated and I will be right back. So I have my first project sitting here ready to go, and what I need to do is just one more time make sure it looks good, and it does. I want to put a paper towel inside of this pouch. The pouch on Amazon says it's made from canvas, but it really feels like it could be a coated canvas, and the inside feels even more plasticky than the outside. So I want to put something in it so that the insides don't stick to each other once I put a lot of heat on it. Let me turn it around. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I want to go ahead and put my wood under my mat. The mat is supposed to be used right under what you're doing, but I want to have this zipper hanging off the edge of the wood. Okay, I think that's good. When I looked on Cricut's website, for canvas, it said that you should use the temperature of 270 degrees. And then this is Caesar vinyl, and so in their instructions it says to press the iron firmly for 10 seconds on the entire design, peel away the clear polyester carrier, recover it with your parchment paper or craft paper, which in my case I'm using this Teflon sheet, and do it for 5 to 10 more seconds. So I have it at 270. I'll go ahead and cover it. Put my Easy Press 2 down, and I have it set for 10 seconds. So I'm just going to put as much pressure as I can on this while it's heating the heat transfer vinyl. So let's see if it feels like it's ready to come off. Okay, it looks like it is adhering down just nicely. Sometimes it wants to come up and you just have to redo it until it's enough heat and enough pressure to keep it down. The trick is not doing it so much that you melt your project or that you melt your glitter, but you just have to keep going sometimes. Okay, and then I was supposed to cover it with, in my case, the Teflon sheet, and do it for 5 to 10 seconds longer. I'm going to go ahead and do it 10 more seconds. Put it on, Hit my start button. Put as much pressure as I can on it again. And we're done. And isn't that cute? So I'm going to go ahead and do the second one for Remington, and then I'll be back and show you both projects at the end. And here we have our final products. We have Remington on this beautiful green. You see how sparkly the glitter HTV is. And we have Piper on this purple kind of lilac color with the mint green heat transfer vinyl and glitter. These two little girls are going to love these. And for less than $1 a pouch and a little bit of glitter HTV, they have some special gifts. If you liked today's video, hit like. If you didn't like it, please feel free to give me some suggestions or comments on how I could improve my videos. I am new at this. And if you have suggestions for how I could improve how I do my project, please leave a comment. If you'd like to continue seeing what I'm doing in the future, hit subscribe. Thank you again for watching my video, and I hope to see you soon. This is Making with Marilyn. Bye-bye.